Hey friends, it's Becky with Bountifully Blessed, and today I was hoping that I could encourage you to use some scraps. So most of the scraps that I end up getting are things you know from your carrots, your parsnips, your celery, onions, garlic. There's a lot of different little things that I can toss into like a homemade beef stock or a chicken stock, and it's absolutely incredible. But there's one thing that I have been trying to figure out, and that has been my potatoes. So I just made a large batch of hash browns, and I have a ton of my peels left over. And I was like, well, what can I do with these? What would be a good use of these? I could throw them in a stock. Doesn't sound very appealing to me. That is definitely not my thought process as far as enjoying putting this in a stock. I don't want it to be starchy. I might venture out and try that at some point, but today's not that day. So what we're gonna actually do is we are going to make some potato crisps, potato peel crisps. So basically like a chip. So I am going to sprinkle these on a baking sheet for an even, you know what, honestly, instead of sprinkling them on first, I'm gonna actually coat them in some oil first. That way I don't have to worry about it. Okay. So I'm going to put them in a bowl here first. Feels like a good amount right now. And then I'm gonna just coat them with some oil. I don't want too much, but I do want a good enough amount that it's gonna coat them well. Of course, as I'm trying not to overdo it, I end up overdoing it. Isn't that just how it works? I may have to do this in a couple batches. We'll see. I definitely put way too much oil in that. So I'm just going to use up the rest of mine here. Okay. So I've got all those potato peels in here. And I'm just going to coat them in oil. And then I'm going to do some pepper, garlic, salt, and paprika. I think that would be really good. I was just going to do garlic powder and then some salt and pepper, but I am out of garlic powder at the moment. I usually make it, but I've kind of been off my game a little bit. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I have my oven preheating to 200. And then we are actually going to throw these in a pan in the oven for about, give or take 8 to 10 minutes, depending. So I'm going to give them a good seasoning of some pepper. And then paprika is always a good choice, I think, with potatoes. Chicken, same thing. And I'm going to do garlic because garlic is amazing. And like I said, I normally would do garlic powder with some salt, but garlic salt is all I have at the moment. So we're going to use that. And I think that that will be delicious. Get them good and coated. That is our oven. It took no time at all for that to preheat to 200. I literally turned it on 200 right before I hit start on this video. All right, once you feel like those are really good and coated, then we can line our sheet pan here, or cookie sheet, or whatever you want to call it. And then just a little bit, because there's a lot in here. A little bit more paprika here. A little bit more garlic salt. All right, I feel like that's pretty good, pretty good. I don't want to overdo it. All right, now we're just gonna create a thin line here of these. I'm gonna kind of, I want them to be nice and thin layer here. Like I said, I might have to do a couple of batches. We'll see. See how the first one goes, right? So I'm just gonna create a nice little line here. All right, I feel like for our first batch here, I feel like that's a pretty good layering. I don't want to overdo it. But I want to make sure that we can get them all nice and crispy. But I don't want to overdo it either. All right, let's see how these go. Into the oven at 200 for, we're gonna check on them in about 8 minutes. Okay, so I did my first batch on 200, and I ended up getting it up to 15 minutes, and they were basically just warm. I should have known better, but I didn't. So I jacked up the temperature to 350, and it still took roughly about 20 minutes to start getting them crispy. So I'm gonna do my next batch on 425, so I'm waiting for my oven to preheat, and then we're gonna see how much better we can do there. Because I think if we do them at 425, because you think, oh, okay, potato skins, you know, potato peels, that they're quite thin, but they're not that thin. Like, they're still thin, don't get me wrong, but there's still some sustenance there. There's still a good piece of actual, like, potato flesh besides just the peel. So I'm gonna let the oven preheat to 425, and then we'll really get a good idea of how long. I think I could do probably around like 8 to 10 minutes on 425 with the size of my peels, because this is how they turned out on 350 for 20 minutes. And I've got like the smaller pieces here are like nice and crispy. They have that like nice potato chip crispiness for sure. But anything that has like any thickness to it, those are not crispy. They're still kind of mushy on the inside. So I think if I do them a little bit faster and higher, that we will get better results that way. So that is what we're gonna do. But otherwise, they're really delicious. So we'll get an exact science down. And then since I'm having to be dairy free, I would recommend dipping them in like sour cream. You know, you could top them with some sour cream and some chives or green onions. Be delicious. But at the end of the day, I can't dip them in sour cream. Trying to think of what else these would be really good for, other than just snacking. Because they are definitely very good for snacking. And you get all the nutrients from the potato peels. So I'll be back once we get the next batch in and we can really get a better idea of how long it's going to take for these to get cooked up properly and quickly. So we'll be back. All right, so we just got our second batch out at 425. I ended up doing 15 minutes. And I think this is definitely where it's at. It's gonna depend on the thickness of your potato skins, because there are still some that are a little bit thicker, that aren't like as crispy as I would personally like them. Everyone's gonna have a personal preference. Like that one was a little bit softer, but most of them end up being pretty crispy. So I did 425 for 15 minutes. And if I ended up doing too long, the little pieces, like the little ones from the ends of the potatoes, those ones are like really crispy. So base it off of your personal preference. Cook them a little bit longer. Maybe the peeler that you use is a little bit thinner. The one that I have, all of them come out pretty long and decently thick. So I think it's just going to be based off of personal preference, but this is a really, really great way to utilize those potato peels. I will definitely make these as a snack, especially since I'm having to avoid a lot more than I realized with having to be dairy and soy free. This has been wonderful, being able to make some snacks with some things that I already have. Why am I going to waste it? So definitely recommend. We'll have to see what the husband says. And he was even thinking, because he already loves potato, like the potato skins that you can get that are basically like the outer shell of the potato with everything scooped out, and then, you know, cheese and bacon and all the good stuff on it. These would be really good with some cheese and bacon, like I said, sour cream, onions, you know, basically treat it like a loaded mashed potato or a loaded baked potato or potato skins, whatever you want to do. You get all the options. It's kind of nice. So definitely recommend. Very delicious. I did end up over salting these just a little, but that was because I had to use garlic salt, and I knew that that might happen. So definitely would recommend making yourself some potato peel crisps. So thank you so much for watching. Hope that you enjoyed, and I pray that you are bountifully blessed. Bye, friends.